YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode here on ESGNet of MLB 16 The Show, Kansas City Royals franchise. This is Royal Court Insider, episode 14, as we're taking a look here at the month of August. And what a month it was. As you see there, the Royals schedule there, and a pretty kind of a roller coaster of a month there. You see, you got a couple of games there we lost there in that second week against Detroit, and then we started winning a couple of series, and then we had a tough series against Baltimore, who right now currently in first place right now in the American League East, leading that way with the Blue Jays, Rays, Yankees, and Red Sox rounding out that division. As for us, we're in first place, and the White Sox are behind us. Out west, there with the Rangers, Angels, Athletics, Astros, and Mariners. Right now, Rangers have a 4.5 lead over the Angels. There you see the American League wild card of the season ended today. The Blue Jays and Rays will be in the wild card game. Of course, that's a one-game playoff to see who would play against the Royals, who currently have the best record in baseball right now, with winning over 90 games right now. So, getting very close to the 100 game mark here. There you see 90 and 40 with the Braves, who are currently leading the National League East, along with the Nationals, Mets, Phillies, and Mariners, there round out the division. Now continue on with the Central. You got the Cardinals there in first place, and then you got the Pirates right behind them, along with the Reds, Cubs, and Brewers, who are really struggling here. They are 32 games out of first place right now, and I believe they are one of the worst teams in baseball right now. And we go ahead. Actually, no, Rockies are just as worse. They're 34.5 games out of first place with the Dodgers in first. Padres right behind them with just 3 games behind behind the leader. The Dodgers, and then the Giants and Diamondbacks round out the bottom, along with the Rockies in the cellar. So if today the season would have ended, the the Pirates and looks like the Padres would be the two teams playing for the National League wild card, and they would take on, I believe, the Dodgers in the next round in the playoffs. But the season is not over with yet, because we still have another month coming up, and there's a lot of things coming up later on here in this month for the Royals and for Major League Baseball. Royals right now, you take a look here at the batting averages right now, looking very good. They're in the top 13 in a lot of these categories you'll see here, and batting very well. You got Ben Zobrist, who's been hitting very, very well. Of course, he leads the American League right now in average. Eric Kozma has been quiet, but his numbers have been kind of steady. Kind of been plateauing here, just average type of numbers, but he is still keeping his bat alive. Right behind him, of course, is Alex Gordon, who's doing very well. Adam Lynn, who's just been batting like there's no tomorrow. Home runs are up there, and we'll see that here in just a bit. That his home runs are up there. I believe he has now 40 home runs, and he's not far behind Miguel Cabrera, of course, leading the way there for the American League, and also for his ball club, the Tigers. And just take a look at some of the doubles there from some of the Royals there. But yeah, the Royals right now in a lot of these categories here are batting very, very well, and we're hoping that that'll continue on and do so here as we get to the dog days of summer. So now we're in the stretch. We're in the month of getting ready to the month of September. That means there's going to be some September call-ups coming up. We'll have a special episode of that, talking about those September call-ups here coming up here very soon here on the channel about those September call-ups. But there you see 42 home runs right there, just I believe just 7 behind Miguel Cabrera. So Adam Lynn is just really seeing the ball very, very well. I mean, what can you say about the guy? I mean, the guy's been around for a couple years now. He, is our DH. And he's been, I mean, just been a great pickup, really, in the free agency when we originally picked him up over the offseason there. So Adam Lind just really becoming something of himself and really putting up some numbers there to help out the Royals offensively there in the home run department. But yeah, we'll continue going on here. We'll show you also some of the National League numbers here in just a bit as soon as we get through the American League. But yeah, just a great year so far for the Royals here. I would have to say the MVP for the Royals right now, when it comes to batting, I would have to say it would be Adam Lind. I mean, right now he has not shown any let up at all. I think the guy that's been most improved on this ball club here, I would have to say it would be it would have to be either Moustakas, who had a great year last year, but I think the guy that I think the most who has been really improved is Lorenzo Cain. Cain had a really tough start. If you remember, he missed a lot of games because of injury, and of course, then when he left because of injury, and we had Dyson. We didn't want to let Dyson, end up going back as a backup or anything like that. So, we had Dyson bat has a couple of bats until he started going on a downward spiral, and then we kind of added, put Cain back in there. And then, of course, the trades that we had of Morris, we let him go, and also Escobar there. We kind of do some shuffling there. Now Dyson is, he's playing center, part-time center field along with Cain, but also he's playing some right field at times, switching off with Markakis. So that's been really helpful here. Next season, I don't know. By the looks of it, there are some teams that are really interested in Dyson, and that might be a good, strong possibility of giving him, trading him to another team, or possibly getting him ready to, getting him ready to be a great everyday outfielder. So, like I said, we're going to be working on that and seeing how that goes about here as time goes on here. So, I would definitely say that Cain has really, really changed quite a bit. He, like I said, he had a rough beginning of this season. He had a rough start, and then finally we were able to get him going, and now he is hitting very well. Now I believe he's hitting over 300 right now for our ball club. Pitching wise, if you take a look here at some of the pitching numbers there, what can you say? I mean, the pitching 1 through 5 has been great. Of course, King Felix, we got that in that trade from Seattle. Had a bit of a rough start, but then once we got to the middle of the season, right before the All-Star break, and then here recently, he's been pitching like lights out. But the guy that has been pitching lights out from day one has been Danny Duffy, and I definitely say he's our MVP in pitching. Pitching has been just amazing with him, and so much so that I'm considering him being our number one starter when we start the playoffs. I feel like he's there. I think he's earned to be a number one, be the 8th starter, and then have Felix right behind him. Of course, then Vargas, and then the day 4 guys could be between Shipley and Eddie Butler, who, by the way, are both rookies. They're our Rule 5 guys that we picked up, and they are great. There you see Shipley's numbers there. so far. Shipley has been playing excellent, along with Butler. Now Shipley has missed a couple of starts because of an injury, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to continue pitching the way he was. Well, so far he's been pitching. He's came back so far since his injury and pitching well, but just the way the momentum he had going in before he was injured has been really, really great, and so much so that I think he was being close to being Rookie of the Year. I'm not for sure on those numbers yet. I have to go look and see the awards and whatnot, but I think he is considered as one of the players for Rookie of the Year. And if he does win it, I mean, rightfully so. I mean, the guy just pitched, has pitched a lot of great games. He's had a couple of games that he had a no hitter for a long time there, and then something squeaked by in the 7th or 8th innings there. So he's been pitching really well, along with Eddie Butler, and especially when Shipley got injured, Butler really took advantage of that and really just showed, hey, I'm going to show you that I'm just as great or if not better than Shipley. And a couple of those games that he pitched, he pitched some really good games. I mean, he had over a dozen strikeouts and really dropped his ERA dramatically down. So Butler is definitely what you see there. Walks allowed this year, 34. He has been pitching really, really great, and really truly, that day 4 and day 5 guys. It's kind of hard because I don't know what put who where, because Shipley, he could one day be a day 5 guy, and Butler could be a day 4 guy one day, and vice versa. And that's going to be definitely be an issue for next season, as where I put those guys at, along with Aaron Brooks, who we're about to bring up here from AAA. He's been actually pitching very, very well. I wish I showed his numbers here in this video, but he has been pitching excellent down there or I should say up there in Omaha. I've been getting a lot of reports from him saying that they want us to bring him up and have him pitch a couple of games here, which he could possibly take. Thinking about giving Vargas some time off, because he has been, he's at least around the clubhouse, he's not been feeling too well here. I believe I got a mess, or the word is that he's been his family has had the flu, and he's been trying to fight it, he's been trying to avoid getting it, so he's been taking a lot of fluids and a lot of medication. So he is trying to prevent himself from getting the flu by taking medication and stuff like that. So he's gonna if he does get sick, we can put Aaron Brooks in there and have him take that day 2 spot there. Or we can easily try to move up Duffy up a day, have Duffy be a day 2 starter, and then have Brooks come in as try him out at 3. So, but there are still some of the things that we are looking at as an organization, and we're going to try to work with those guys once we move some of those guys up. But like I said, September call-ups are very important because we want to test our guys, see what they can do. We got a lot of AAA guys that are going to be coming up. I do have a few AA guys who are really good. We got 2 pitchers and I think an outfielder that we're going to be looking at. But right now, the Naturals are, surprisingly enough, are doing very well. We actually have a special here coming up. It's a special report about them. They got the playoffs coming up. They won the first half of the season, and by the looks of it, so that means they have a playoff spot. And if everything goes well, we're right now talking with the coaching staff and everybody down there in the AAA or in the AA division, and we're thinking about broadcasting, possibly broadcasting some of those playoffs games there. Once the playoffs get somewhat, we get an idea of who they're playing coming up here into September. So those guys, some of those AA guys won't be seen until those playoffs are over with, but they do have eligibility. Some of those guys do have some eligibility there. I think at least I know 4 of them do have eligibility to be on part of the 40-man roster. So our 40-man roster won't be totally complete once we get into the month of September, because there are some guys going to be, especially in the AA, will not be up there because of the playoffs. As for right now, as our AAA guys, we, for the most part, I think the majority of them are going to be coming up. AAA did not do so well this year. And so we're going to be trying to help get those guys going, especially with some of the outfitters. We have Bubba Sterling, and I can't think of the other guy that's going to be coming up here, possibly next year, playing for us. But take a look here at some of the stats. There you see, pause the video there. You guys can check out the stats for Eric Kozma. And these are some of the key guys that we're just looking at, who so far this season and also this month, who have just been really, really great. So there you see Alex Gordon, of course, been hitting very well here. He has some pretty monster games, especially against the White Sox here when we had our series there in the south side of Chicago. Alex doing very well. I've even thought about bringing Alex into the infield at some point here, maybe during the playoffs, as he's a former third baseman. He played third base there in Nebraska. He played third base for a while there here for the Royals early in his career, and that's been one of the things we've been kind of talking about, is having guys that can play multiple positions take the time and play those multiple positions, so we can start using our bench a little bit more. So like Ben here, Ben can play pretty much all the infield and the outfield, so he's a really great utility player, and that's going to help us out here. If a guy needs a day off or whatever during the playoffs and stuff like that, or especially down the stretch here. A couple games you might see Ben, in the outfield, maybe switching spots with Gordon, who plays or he can also play third and then center and right. So like I said, that's going to be very valuable for us. That's something we're looking into. We looked into last year to a lot of these players that we've drafted, and we're continuing doing that because having those utility players like that are very, very, very important, and you can utilize those guys in many, many ways. So should be a great September coming up. We do have a few games. We will try to move along this season here as much as possible, the second half, or in the month of September, as we got a lot of, we've already clinched a spot in the playoffs. But we are going to look at some key matchups, and really, a lot of the games you'll probably see are games, highlighted games, where we'll highlight maybe two games. So we're going to try to highlight a lot of Eddie Butler and Shipley's games. Put those in a nice little package for you guys, show you guys what they're doing so far. Also to Aaron Brooks and also Danny Duffy. Like I said, Duffy's been doing really great. It's been really fun to watch him pitch and see what he does on the field. So those will be things we'll be looking at. There you see Duffy's numbers right now. But yeah, for the most part here, we're going to try to get it this season, or this regular season, done as quickly as possible so we can get into the playoffs and kind of dive in deep in a little bit more of what's going on with the Royals, so we can move on to the off season, and of course move them over to NBA or in MLB 17 the show. It's one of those alphabetic letters I'm trying to think of, but but yeah, try to move them over to 17 the show and get possibly get the third season started. And of course, we'll have another franchise going on here at the same time for you guys. By now, you should know who the other franchise team is, and we'll have videos and stuff like that for that series also. So there you see King Felix. Like I said, he's been having a rough go here with the Royals, and I don't really understand why, because he's still in the American League. I think it might be just a ball club that he's not used to that ball field. To me, I think some of this. I think when you get a guy that like him that's been with a team for so long, he's been with the Mariners for almost 10 years or more, and then you switch and get traded somewhere else, try to get used to that ballpark. It gets tough. So next year it might be a different story. But I mean, he does have a a perfect game for us this season. He got that one against Seattle. They're in Seattle against his old ball club there. So that's one thing he is definitely excited about. I know he is. We talk to him about that a lot here, and he keeps joking about it. He would like to bring one. A perfect game here for the Royals there at the K, but it just all depends. So that should be, but that's not his main focus there. He wants to win games for the ball club, and not to mention to just help the young guys like Eddie Butler and Brandon Shipley to perfect their game even more. As you see Shipley's numbers there, 13-6 for the year. And there you see his ERA around 2 there. So yeah, he is definitely. He's been doing quite well for himself this season. His first season in the big league. So him and Shipley, I believe, are in the talks right. Are kind of neck and neck when it comes to the Rookie of the Year here. I'm gonna have to go back and check the. Go back on here and see exactly who's up for the Rookie of the Year. But I know for the most part, I want to say there. I think Shipley, is one of the main ones that are on there. So, but I have to definitely check it out and see how that goes. But there you see Shipley's numbers, 12-4. There you see his average, or his ERA is right there at 2. So he is looking good. And his whip right there, 0.90. So he is definitely, doing something right, and definitely getting something together here for his ball club. So should be very interesting time here coming up. One of the things I will say here, since we did have a problem with injuries because of Shipley, we brought John Lackey, who's been in a couple of games so far here, and really impressed with Lackey. The veteran here, the 36-year-old pitcher, right-hand pitcher. He's been with the Angels and Red Sox and and Cardinals and stuff like that. I was really surprised the way he's been pitching, and he's going to be a guy that we'll definitely utilize here in the postseason with all his postseason experience right there. That's going to really help us out. He's going to help these young guys out that have no postseason experience, like Shipley and Butler, and that's going to be something that's going to be very key and very important to us as we go along here in the postseason, along with you see Greg Holland, who's been pitching great. I think now he's getting close to 40 saves now. So he's been really doing a great job as a saves leader. I think he is one of the saves leader right now. I think he's tied in third. I think there's three tied in the saves department there. So it should be it should be a great year for him, and I definitely can see him being, a number one, being the best saves guy for the closers here this season. So that should be very interesting. Should be really great to see him do that. So, but there you see, that those last couple games toward that last week there, we just had a rough time there. Baltimore really did a number on us there at home. And then, of course, Tampa Bay piled on as we went to St. Petersburg. But we took 2 and finished the series out and finished the month off with wins. So coming up here in the next episode, you guys, here on ESGNet, it should be a White Sox game. I think it's the last game of the White Sox series. And you guys should see that here on the channel here very, very soon. And also we will see some September call-ups come up also. So that is all coming up here in the next couple of days here on ESGNet. So thank you guys for checking out Royal Court Insider this today. There should be more Royals baseball. Like I said, we'll have a special. We actually have a special episode coming up of Royal Insider Court about the AA ball club and the prospects we have down there that you guys should take definitely a second look at and get ready to have them as a household name for the Royals. Also, the AA playoffs are going to be starting, and we're going to try to broadcast those games here on the channel here in the next couple of days. So definitely stay tuned for that. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Royals baseball here on ESGNet all summer long. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr. Links are down below in the description. And as always, keep yourselves healthy, and I will see you guys next time.